What if I told you you can make this elegant dress in just one evening? Let me show you how. Hello darlings, this is Julie and welcome to my channel where we talk everything sewing. So today I will be making this beautiful elegant dress that I'm also wearing today. We will make this dress from scratch, meaning we will create our own pattern and later we will assemble the dress. In the video you will learn how to make a boat neckline and how to sew it using quite an unusual technique. You will also learn to draft your own bishop sleeve and also how to assemble it, as well as how to do a hem for this particular dress. This video is created in partnership with Organ Needles, one of the leading brands in needle industry. Sewing machine needles are one of our tiny helpers that have tremendous effect on sewing quality, so knowing which needle to choose when and why is one of the essential knowledge in sewing category. Throughout the video, I will be switching to different Organ needles and I will show you which needle I'm choosing and why. To create this dress, you will need a basic dartless block. If you don't have one, I will link the tutorial down below in the description box. Also in the description box, I will add the breakdown of all the techniques that I'm showing in the video, in case you want to jump to, let's say, the bishop sleeve or the neckline or whatever. So you will find that information in the description box. And now let's start creating our beautiful, elegant dress. We will start making our pattern from creating a boat neckline. First, you want to widen the neckline by 7 centimeters and deepen it by 1.5 centimeters. You will connect these dots with a beautiful curve, and this curve will be your front boat neckline curve. Now, important part right here is to make sure that your neckline is 90-degree angle with the shoulders. So I'm making sure that I have a nice 90-degree angle. Once I have my curve ready, I will cut it from the piece of paper and my front pattern piece is ready. Now I will take the back pattern piece and I will put it shoulders together with the front pattern piece. I'm making sure that my shoulders are equally wide and my neckline is equally wide as well. So I'm marking at the back of my pattern where the shoulder starts. Again, I want to make sure that I have a 90-degree angle right here, and I will continue to create a boat back neckline piece. Once it's done, I will cut it from the paper, and then my front and back pieces are ready to cut from fabric. I will cut these pattern pieces with 1 centimeter seam allowance, except at the bottom where I want to leave 3 centimeters for hem seam allowance. Next, we will create a bishop sleeve pattern. Now you want to measure how high you want your cuff to be. In my case, I want it to be 7 centimeters. So from the sleeve pattern bottom, I'm marking 7 centimeters and I'm cutting this piece out. This will be my cuff, which I will cut on fold at the bottom. For the cuff, you want to leave 1 centimeter seam allowance when cutting it from fabric. Next, on the body of the sleeve, I want you to make several lines, which will be our slit lines, and we will be adding volume through these lines. So mark straight lines, and you will want to cut them not all the way through, but just leave a few millimeters at the top so that the sleeve stays connected at the top. Now take another piece of paper and put it below your sleeve pattern. Now you want to take those slits that you make and spread them. The more you spread them, the more volume your sleeve will have. In my case, because I'm working with a very sheer fabric, I am spreading it really wide to give sleeve a lot of volume. Next, you want to draw around your sleeve pattern, and at the bottom you want to add a few centimeters for that fall over volume. In my case, I'm adding 5 centimeters. At the bottom, I am creating a nice curve. When cutting this pattern from a piece of fabric, you want to leave 1 centimeter seam allowance on all sides and bottom. Now that our pattern is ready, we can continue with assembling our dress. Before cutting the fabric, I also wanted to add embroidery to my sleeves, and I do that before I cut the sleeve pattern out because this way I can position the embroidery better. I will do embroidery on a mesh fabric which is very lightweight and quite difficult to do embroidery on. So I will also add a backing which is water soluble and it will wash away once I wash the embroidery. To make sure that my mesh and backing stay together, I will use spray adhesives and connect them temporarily. This way the fabric does not move, and once I put it to hoop, the machine will have a much easier task to do embroidery because the fabric will be not moving anywhere. The fabric is now in the hoop and it's very sturdy because of the backing and the spray adhesives, and now that we have the fabric ready, we can move the embroidery machine. Whenever I'm doing embroidery when using spray adhesives, I like to use Organ Needle's anti-glue needle, which has a special coating and prevents glue from sticking to the surface of the needle. This way, a very smooth embroidery process is ensured and the thread will not be breaking and you will not have any issues when doing embroidery with spray adhesives. This is why you always want to make sure you're choosing the right needle for the job. Once anti-glue needle is installed, I will insert the hoop and will start embroidery. For this particular embroidery design, it will take me about an hour for each sleeve to do the embroidery, but embroidery time heavily depends on the design you choose and how many thread colors you will be using. Once the design is stitched out, I will wash my fabric to get out that adhesive spray and also the backing, and after that I will iron my embroidery and cut my sleeve. After that, we are moving to the assembly of the dress. If you're enjoying the video so far and if you're learning something new, I would appreciate if you could hit the like button so that more people can discover the video and learn more about pattern making and sewing techniques. Thank you, and let's continue watching the video. First, I will start by making French seam at the side of my sleeves. To do that, I'm installing a Microtex needle to my sewing machine. Organ Needle's Microtex needle is perfect for working with delicate fabrics thanks to its slim set point. So to make the French seam, I will first fold my sleeve in half. This time it's wrong sides together, and I will pin the sides together. I will sew a straight stitch about half of my seam allowance. Next, I will bring the sleeve to the ironing board and I will iron this seam flat. Next, I will unfold this sleeve and fold it right on the middle of the seam. I will press it again and I will secure it with the baste stitch. I will bring back my sleeve to the sewing machine and I will sew again, this time at the seam allowance line. I will press the seam and it's ready. This seam finish is beautiful from the inside and the outside of the garment, and it's perfect when working with mesh fabrics. Next, I will assemble the bodice of the dress. To do that, I take the front and back pattern pieces, put them right sides together and pin at the shoulder line and sides. I will connect the seams using my serger. At my serger, I'm using Organ Needles EL X705 chromium finish needles that have chromium finish for high performance. These needles are also suitable to sew knit stretch fabric, so it's perfect for this project. Using 4-thread overlock stitch, I am attaching the shoulders and the sides of the dress. Once the seam is made, I will press it and bring back the dress to the serger because I want to now finish the hem. For the hem, I want to serge the raw edge of the hem and then bring the dress to the ironing board. I will press the hem flat and then I will mark the seam allowance. I will fold the seam allowance to the inside of the garment and press it. Using baste stitch, I will make a seam right through the middle of the overlock seam. I will bring the dress back to the sewing machine where I have installed twin needle. To hem knit fabrics, I like to use Orga Needle's Twin Stretch needle. This needle creates 2 rows of stitches from the outside of the garment, and from the inside it creates a zigzag which gives seam its elasticity. This needle gives a very professional looking finish and is a great substitute for coverlock machine. I will sew around the hem using twin needle and straight stitch, and I'm using my base stitch as a navigate where I have to sew to really make sure that my seam is in the right place. This is how the seam looks finished, and now I will go ahead and press it and continue with assembling my dress. Now we will attach the cuff to our sleeve. Take cuff piece, fold it in half and sew sides together. Take the sleeve and at the bottom we will make a straight seam about 5 millimeters from the edge of the fabric. Leave long thread tails at beginning and end of the seam and do not secure the stitch neither in the beginning nor the end. Make a second seam parallel to first one, and this seam should be about 7 millimeters to 1 centimeter from the edge of the fabric. Holding thread ends of both seams, gather the fabric so that it fits your cuff neatly. Pin the right sides together of the sleeve and cuff and sew around the cuff using 4-thread overlock stitch. Since this is a circular seam, you want to finish it by leaving long thread tail, clipping it, and then taking big dull needle and pulling the thread tail back to the seam. This way the seam is secure and it will not fall apart. Remove long gathering stitches and your sleeve is ready to be installed to the bodice of the dress. I pinned sleeve to place, and now I will sew all around the armhole using a 4-thread serger seam. Again, this is a circular seam, so I will finish it by pulling the thread tail back to the seam so that it doesn't fall apart. Once the sleeves are set in, we will move to the sewing machine where we have our final step, which is finishing the neckline. I switched to the sewing machine and I have installed a jersey needle, which is perfect for sewing knit fabrics. This needle slips between the threads instead of cutting through them. This is why you get perfect seam results when using the right needle. This is how the packaging looks for jersey needle for my industrial straight stitch machine, and this is how jersey needle packaging looks for domestic sewing machine. I love sewing knit fabrics. This is why I always have at least a few of the new jersey needle packages on hand. To finish the neckline, you will need a strap which is cut horizontally from the same fabric as your dress. The strap should be about 2.5 centimeters to 3 centimeters width, and it should be longer than the circumference of your neckline. Place the strap at the right side of your dress and sew a straight seam all around the neckline about 3 to 5 millimeters from the edge. Leave about 1 centimeter of the strap loose at the beginning, and then when you go all around the neckline, trim the strap and sew ends of straps together using straight stitch. This is how the neckline looks so far. Now you want to do a top stitch about 1 millimeter from the edge, and the seam allowance should be pushed towards the strap. Sew all around the neckline. Now trim excess seam allowance all around the neckline. Fold the loose strap edge and using base stitch connect it to the bodice of the dress all around the neckline. Now using straight stitch, sew about 1 millimeter from the edge of the strap and sew all around the neckline. This is how the finished neckline looks from the inside and the outside of the garment. This is a very clean finish and it gives such a beautiful result, and only one seam is visible from the outside of the garment. And here is my final dress. I really love how it turned out. It's such an elegant and classy dress, and I feel like it will be perfect for the summer and spring season. Thank you for watching today's video, and I will see you next time. Bye!